Good morning. I'm going to read the rest of the Diamond Mystery to you today. Chapter 6, The Missing Apple. Maya was now on the top floor, standing just outside Luke Smith's office. She took a deep breath and lifted her hand to knock. After finding a large knife on the second floor, she wondered what she might find on the third floor. Suddenly, the door opened, and Maya was confronted by Luke Smith, dressed in a track suit. Maya gasped. "Sorry to surprise you," Luke said kindly. "I always go for a jog before lunch." He gestured to his sneakers and smiled. Through his binoculars, Jerry could see Maya's surprised expression. Then he saw Luke Smith leave the building through the front door. Luke Smith ran a few short feet, then stopped by the building's drainpipe, kneeling down to tie his shoelaces. With a quick motion, he picked up something from the street, hopped up, and ran off toward the post office. He had a big smile on his face. "That's a strange route for a jog," thought Jerry. Meanwhile, Maya looked around Luke's office. It had the same layout as Danny Braveheart's office below. There was one workbench and two windows facing the street, one of which was open. Luke's tools were spread out along the workbench, and some of his clothes hung on the coat rack against the wall. Maya walked to the open window and waved to Jerry in the church tower. Jerry waved back. Maya moved around the room slowly, looking for something without knowing exactly what she was looking for. She picked up the tools, twisting and turning them to see how they worked. She checked the drawers in the desk. They were locked. "There's something missing," she thought. Then she realized. The apple. Something told her that Luke Green's apple was very important. She didn't know why. It was just a feeling she had. When she pictured Luke, she immediately saw the green apple right in front of her eyes. She looked everywhere but couldn't find the apple. "He must have eaten it," she thought, "and I know just how to find out." Maya raced over to the trash can to look for the apple core, but it was empty. Suddenly, Jerry saw Luke Smith leave the post office. He tucked a small key in his pocket and jogged back to the jewelry store. Oh no, Maya was still nosing around his office looking for clues. Jerry watched Luke open the jewelry store door and disappear into the building. This is where a good tip-off would have come in handy, thought Jerry. He needed to warn Maya somehow. Jerry opened his detective bag and took out a small mirror. He held it out through the shutters of the church tower and turned it toward the sun. It caught a ray of sunshine and reflected straight into Luke Smith's workshop. Jerry directed the beam of light into Maya's face. At first, Maya was irritated and held her hands across her eyes, but then she understood that Jerry was trying to tell her something. She ran across the room to the cleaning supplies and pretended to work. Just in time. As soon as she picked up the bucket and squeegee, the door to the room opened. In walked a still smiling Luke Smith. "Hi there, junior worker," he said with a smile. "I've just finished the window," Maya said cheerfully, and headed out the door. Phew! That was a little close for comfort," Jerry sighed over in the church tower. Chapter 7, A Snack and a Solution. On the way down from Luke Smith's room, Maya bumped into Danny Braveheart, and he dropped what he was carrying. Betting slips and gambling tickets fell like confetti and scattered down the stairs. Danny hastily gathered all the fallen paperwork and cast a worried look down the stairs. "Ah," thought Maya, "that's what he was doing when I interrupted him earlier. He was sitting at his desk, gambling instead of polishing the jewelry like he's supposed to, and now he's afraid that Muhammad Carrick will catch him." "Look where you're going, you clumsy fool," barked Danny Braveheart before disappearing into the room. Maya quickly excused herself and continued down the stairs. Jerry came down from the church tower. In the church, he ran into Roland Sussman, the man with 3 S's. "Did you spot any birds?" asked the caretaker. "Nope, no luck today," replied Jerry, shaking his head. He said goodbye and walked across the street. Jerry and Maya had arranged to meet at the cafe next to the jeweler's. There, they each ordered an apple juice and a granola bar. They took a seat in the corner of the cafe where they could talk about being overheard. It had been a long, difficult day, and it wasn't over yet. It was time for the 2 detectives to discuss what they had seen and heard that day. They sat in the cafe for an hour, talking and comparing notes. Jerry saw a lot that Maya couldn't have, and Maya filled him in on what she heard while she was working in the store. The 2 of them put together what they knew, and the clues fit together like pieces of a puzzle. The waitress was surprised when she checked on the 2 children. They had barely touched their food. After a while, Jerry and Maya nodded at each other with satisfaction and got up from the table. All the pieces were in place, and they knew who the thief was. Jerry and Maya entered the jewelry store and walked toward Muhammad Carrot's office. They knocked, but nobody answered. Strange. Where could he be? Carefully, Maya nudged the door. It wasn't locked, so Maya gently pushed it open. Inside, they found Muhammad Carrot laying on his back on the brown sofa. He wasn't moving. Was he dead? Jerry and Maya rushed over. Thankfully, he wasn't dead. He was still breathing. But he was lying completely still, staring blankly ahead. He must be in shock. The two detectives saw tears running down Mr. Carrot's cheeks. They dripped to the floor where his earlier tears had already begun to form a puddle. Today, a 7th diamond was stolen, he sniffled. It's over. I'll have to sell my beloved store. Not so fast, Mr. Carrot, said Maya. We think we know who has stolen your diamonds. In a flash, Muhammad Carrot sat up on the sofa. His eyes were wide. Chapter 8. Who, why, and how. Let me guess, said Muhammad Carrot, eagerly wiping tears from his mustache. It must be Vivian. She's disappointed because she's not gotten a raise. She stole my diamonds so she could build a new house, and then she buys expensive necklaces and clothes with the money instead. Oh, how could she? Groaned Muhammad Carrot. Vivian is innocent, said Maya, but she has a fiancé, a rich man, who showers her with presents. Vivian didn't steal her diamonds. The only thing she's guilty of is kissing customers at work. I know who it is, cried Muhammad Carrot, jumping. It's Danny Braveheart, the crafty old fox. He's cheated me. Muhammad Carrot shook his clenched fist toward the floor above where Danny Braveheart worked. He stole my diamonds to ruin me, roared Muhammad Carrot. Once he has enough money, he'll buy back the store that his father once owned. Of course Danny Braveheart wants to get rich, agreed Jerry, but not by stealing your diamonds. He gambles on horse races. Danny Braveheart isn't a particularly friendly, dedicated employer, but he isn't a diamond thief. Muhammad Carrot sank to his knees. Weeping with rage, he banged his fists on the floor. Luke Smith, he hollered. You bragging sports car driving villain, how could you? Muhammad Carrot fell silent. A wrinkle appeared on his sweaty forehead. Yes, how could he asked. And he looked at Jerry and Maya. How on earth did he get the diamonds out of the store, and where is he hiding them? The main character in this story is actually an apple, said Maya. An apple that isn't there. Muhammad Carrot scratched his head. Jerry scratched his nose. Mr. Carrot clearly didn't understand, so Maya continued. Every morning, Luke Smith brings an apple to the office, but he doesn't eat it, and he doesn't take it home. So the question is, where does the apple go? Yes, Jerry added. In the mornings, Luke works alone in his room, and that's when he takes the opportunity to press one of your diamonds into the green apple. Then he opens the window and tosses the apple onto the roof. The apple rolls across the roof and into the gutter, where it falls down to the drain pipe and onto the sidewalk below. The drain pipe, down below. As soon as that's taken care of, Luke puts on his tracksuit and goes for his daily jog. Muhammad Carrot looked at the two sleuths with his mouth wide open. Maya said, just in front of the drain pipe, Luke, your healthy, apple-eating jogger, stops and pretends to tie his shoelaces. That's when he picks up the diamond-stuffed apple and runs to the post office to lock it in a safe deposit box. We think there will be 7 green, or not so green, apples in the safe deposit box, and you'll find the key in Luke Smith's tracksuit, concluded Maya. By golly, you've solved the case, cheered Muhammad Carrot as he jumped up in the air with joy. After he calmed down, he went to his safe and took out a thick stack of dollar bills. Those are all the apples, and the diamonds are inside, or should be. Here you are, he said happily. I'm very pleased with the Who-Done-It Detective Agency, but now you must excuse me. Luke Smith and I are going to take a little walk to the post office together. Jerry and Maya walked out of the office. Vivian Leander was standing outside. She had been listening at the door, as usual. Oh, I was just, she said, blushing. Jerry and Maya looked at each other and tried to hide their smiles. On the bus ride home, Maya suggested they buy a computer with the money they had just earned from Muhammad Carrot. But Jerry wasn't listening. He was looking out the window and scratching his nose. Now I understand, he said finally, and laughed. Danny Braveheart was talking about gambling on horses when he said you only need 1 horsepower if you choose the right one. Exactly, exclaimed Maya. He was thinking about winning a horse race, as usual. A good detective leaves no questions unanswered, she said, and smiled admiringly at Jerry. The next day, the church caretaker, Roland Sussman, and everyone else in the little town read something very exciting in the newspaper. The Whodunit Agency solves yet another case. The young detectives of the Whodunit Detective Agency, Maya and Jerry, have successfully solved a difficult case. Through clever investigative work, they have linked one of Muhammad Carrot's jewelry store employees to a crime. 29-year-old Luke Smith has confessed to police that he had stolen 7 diamonds, each worth thousands of dollars. Mysteriously, Jerry has told the paper that he and Maya have 3 S's to thank for helping them solve the case. Now a long prison sentence awaits Luke Smith, and there will certainly be more assignments to come for Jerry and Maya's newly opened but already successful detective agency. And then there was a second book, and this has been out for a while, so there may be even more than that, but this is the second, but it's called The Hotel Mystery. All right, I hope you enjoyed.